The Anunnaki shimmer like a distant constellation in the vast tapestry of Mesopotamian religious consciousness, their origins woven into the very fabric of humanity's earliest urban civilizations. Emerging around 3200 BCE, these deities were not sheer gods to the Sumerians, but the divine architects of existence, shaping the cosmos and anchoring the earthly realm to the celestial. Their name, derived from the Sumerian Anunna, meaning offspring of An, or those of An's lineage, reveals their intrinsic connection to Anu, the supreme sky god whose domain spanned the highest heavens. The suffix ki, denoting earth or land, binds them to the terrestrial, creating a divine bridge between the unreachable stars and the fertile plains of southern Mesopotamia. To the Sumerians, the Anunnaki were the scaffolding of reality itself, intermediaries who wove the celestial and earthly into a singular, ordered whole. The earliest traces of their presence appear in cuneiform texts, those delicate impressions on clay tablets that capture the Sumerian mind's first theological musings. Around 3200 BCE, scribes in southern Mesopotamia began recording their understanding of the divine, not as whimsical anthropomorphic figures, but as cosmic forces governing order and destiny. Administrative documents from Uruk, one of the world's first cities, mention offerings to the Anunna who judge and the greater Anunna of heaven and earth. These fleeting references, etched in temple inventories, hint at a divine assembly already taking shape by 3000 BCE, a celestial council that presided over both gods and mortals. The Sumerian king list, compiled around 2100 BCE but drawing on far older traditions, offers a tantalizing glimpse into their origins. It declares that kingship descended from heaven, a bold assertion that earthly rule was a divine gift, bestowed under the watchful eyes of the Anunnaki. The list's antediluvian section, with rulers like Alulim of Eridu reigning for 2800 years, and Enmen-Lu-Anna of Bad Tabira for 40,200, stretches time to cosmic scales, suggesting these early kings operated under direct Anunnaki supervision, their reigns blurring the line between myth and history. These astronomical reigns, impossible by human standards, reflect a Sumerian obsession with cosmic cycles, where time itself was a divine construct. The numbers, multiples of 60, rooted in the Sumerian sexagesimal system, echo their mathematical sophistication and their belief that the Anunnaki orchestrated not just space, but the rhythm of existence. Uruk, the bustling heart of early Sumer, provides a material anchor for these beliefs. Archaeological excavations reveal a city pulsing with religious fervor, its temples aligned with cardinal directions, their elevated platforms mirroring the cosmic mountain where heaven met earth. The Inanna precinct, dedicated to Inanna but linked to Anu, showcases intricate designs that prefigure the ziggurats of later centuries, each brick a testament to the Anunnaki's role as divine architects. These structures were not mere buildings, but sacred spaces where humanity communed with the divine, offering grain, livestock, and devotion to sustain the cosmic order. Yet, the Anunnaki were more than distant overseers. They were active participants in the Sumerian worldview, their authority etched into every facet of life. The Proto-Sumerian period, roughly 3500-3000 BCE, shows their identity crystallizing through generations of texts. From vague references in Uruk's records to more defined roles in later inscriptions, the Anunnaki evolved from abstract forces to a structured pantheon. By 3000 BCE, they were the great gods who judged, their collective will shaping destinies in a divine assembly that mirrored earthly governance. This theological scaffolding supported a society on the cusp of complexity, where cities like Eridu and Uruk were not just settlements, but experiments in divine human collaboration. To deepen this narrative, imagine the Sumerian scribe, stylus in hand, hunched over a damp clay tablet under flickering torchlight. His work was not merely administrative, but sacred, a dialogue with the divine. Each wedge pressed into clay was a prayer, an offering to the Anunnaki who ensured the harvest's bounty and the city's survival. The Sumerians saw their world as precarious, balanced between flood and drought, order and chaos. The Anunnaki, in their celestial council, were the guarantors of stability, their judgments as vital as the Tigris and Euphrates that nourished the land. This emotional resonance, the awe and fear of a people dependent on divine whim, infuses the text with urgency, making the Anunnaki not just gods, but the heartbeat of a civilization daring to dream beyond survival. The Sumerian king list, with its fantastical reigns, also hints at a deeper truth. The Anunnaki were not static deities, but evolving symbols of authority. Their role in descending kingship suggests a divine mandate that legitimized rulers, binding them to the cosmic order. This was no abstract theology, but a practical framework for governance, where kings were stewards of divine will, their longevity in myth reflecting their sacred duty. The archaeological record supports this, with Uruk's temples revealing storerooms brimming with offerings, barley, sheep, and precious metals dedicated to the Anunnaki. These were not just gifts, but a covenant, a tangible exchange between mortals and gods to ensure prosperity. As we delve into this ancient world, the Anunnaki emerge not as distant myths, but as living forces, their presence etched into clay, stone, and the collective imagination of a people who saw divinity in every sunrise and harvest. Their story, born in the cradle of civilization, is one of cosmic ambition, where gods and humans together forge the foundations of urban life. Their partnership, a testament to humanity's first steps toward understanding its place in the universe. Eridu stands as a sentinel in the marshy cradle of Mesopotamian civilization, its ruins whispering secrets of the Anunnaki's earliest earthly anchors. Traditionally hailed as the first city, founded by the gods themselves, Eridu's archaeological layers peel back time to around 5000 BCE, revealing 17 successive temple levels that chart the evolution of divine worship. These structures, with their elevated platforms and cardinal orientations, embody the cosmological principles the Anunnaki imposed on the world, boundaries between chaos and order, water and land. The earliest temples, simple yet sophisticated, feature reed bundle designs and mud brick walls that foreshadow the grandeur of later ziggurats, each rebuild a testament to humanity's unyielding devotion. Excavations uncover votive offerings, polished stones, fish bones, and clay figurines, evoking the emotional weight of ancient rituals where priests sought the gods' favor amid the unpredictable floods of the Euphrates. The Eridu Genesis, preserved in old Babylonian copies but rooted in far older Sumerian lore, casts the Anunnaki as masterful creators, not aloof spectators. This myth unfolds like a divine blueprint. After fashioning mankind from clay and divine essence, the Anunnaki convene in assembly, decreeing destinies and founding cities. The great gods held assembly and assigned the destinies, the text intones, highlighting their collective governance, a celestial parliament where decisions ripple through the cosmos to shape human fate. Eridu emerges as the prototype, its temple, the Axis Mundi, where Enki, god of wisdom and waters, resides in the Abzu, the subterranean freshwater realm. This narrative isn't mere storytelling, it's a profound emotional anchor, reassuring Sumerians that their world was intentionally ordered, their labors part of a grand divine plan amid the harsh realities of irrigation farming and seasonal inundations. Shifting north to Nippur, the spiritual epicenter of Sumer, the Anunnaki's influence deepens through Enlil's unassailable domain. As the city housing Mesopotamia's paramount sanctuary, Nippur's archives brim with texts that illuminate the interplay between individual gods and the broader Anunnaki collective. The Ur-3 period inscriptions detail rulers restoring Enlil's Ekor temple for the Anunnaki who decree fate, underscoring that even Enlil, the stormbringer and king of lands, operated within this overarching framework. Enlil's temple, a colossal complex of courtyards and shrines, buzzed with activity. Priests interpreting omens from thunderclaps, scribes recording hymns that praised his might. The emotional core here is one of awe and trepidation. Enlil's winds could nurture crops or unleash devastation, mirroring the Sumerians' fragile existence in a land of extremes. Cuneiform sources from Nippur also yield the earliest drafts of canonical texts, like Enlil and Ninlil, a poignant tale of divine romance and cosmic deliberation. In this composition, the gods assemble in the Ubshukina, a hallowed chamber where fates are sealed. 50 greater Anunnaki and 7 fate decreers convene, their debates echoing human councils, but on a scale that determines empires and eclipses. The text paints vivid scenes. Enlil, exiled for his passion with Ninlil, wanders the underworld, fathering gods of shadow and light. This isn't dry theology, it's a gripping drama of love, exile, and redemption, evoking the human heart's turmoil while reinforcing the Anunnaki's hierarchical order. The number 7 resonates deeply, tied to visible planets and the lunar week, infusing time itself with divine rhythm, days structured by celestial decree, a concept that lent sacred predictability to the chaos of daily life. These assemblies in the Ubshukina weren't abstract. They were the heartbeat of Mesopotamian justice and destiny. Debates raged over plagues, harvests, and kings' fates, with the 7 decree makers as an elite cadre, their verdicts binding. Imagine the tension in that cosmic hall, gods arguing with the weight of worlds on their words, their decisions filtering down to mortal ears through omens and oracles. This system fostered a profound sense of interconnectedness, where human actions, rituals, offerings could sway divine deliberations, instilling hope amid uncertainty. To enrich this tapestry, consider the cultural echoes. Nippur's festivals, where crowds gathered under Enlil's ziggurat, chanting hymns that blended fear with exaltation. The air thick with incense and the bleating of sacrificial lambs, these events weren't just religious, they were communal catharses, binding society in shared reverence. Archaeological finds, clay liver models for divination, inscribed with Anunnaki invocations, reveal a people desperate for signs, their faith a shield against the unknown. The Anunnaki, through these texts and sites, emerge as empathetic architects, their counsels mirroring human struggles, adding layers of emotional depth to the cold clay records. Eridu's watery origins contrast Nippur's stormy heights, yet both underscore the Anunnaki's role in taming nature's fury. Enki's Abzu in Eridu symbolized life-giving waters, essential for the canals that vein the alluvial plain, turning desert into Eden. Myths, like the Eridu Genesis, blend creation with practicality, gods teaching irrigation, city building, kingship, tools for survival wrapped in divine narrative. This practical theology resonated emotionally, offering solace that the gods, having created humanity, wouldn't abandon it to the floods. Nippur's texts further humanized the divine. Enlil's family dramas in Enlil and Ninlil reflect Sumerian values of kinship and authority, making gods relatable yet supreme. The Ubshukina's numerical precision, 50 and 7, hints at an ordered universe, a comforting counter to life's randomness. As scribes copied these tales, they preserved not just words, but a worldview where the Anunnaki's assemblies ensured justice, their decrees the threads weaving fate. In this era, the Anunnaki's theology was nascent yet profound, evolving from Eridu's foundational myths to Nippur's elaborate councils. Each site, each text, builds suspense. How would these gods navigate the growing complexities of their creation? The emotional pull is irresistible, the divine mirroring the human, councils deciding destinies in halls that echo eternity. The Anunnaki's divine hierarchy pulses with distinctions, as sharp as the edges of a cuneiform stylus, their roles carved into the very structure of Mesopotamian cosmology. Beyond their collective might, the Sumerians distinguished them from other divine categories, notably the Igigi and the enigmatic 7 who decree fate. The Igigi, their name rooted in a term meaning to see or watch, were celestial observers, deities tied to the stars and omens, tasked with interpreting the heavens' cryptic signs. Unlike the Anunnaki, who governed the foundational principles of existence, sky, earth, and the cosmic order, the Igigi played a subordinate role, their eyes fixed on constellations, their divinations guiding priests through the haze of uncertainty. Texts from Nippur make this clear. While the Anunnaki ruled from the Ubshukina, Decreeing fates, the Igigi watched, reported, and served, their celestial vigilance a humbler echo of divine authority. This distinction wasn't academic, it was emotional, grounding the Sumerians in a world where the gods' roles were as structured as their cities, offering reassurance that every aspect of existence had its divine overseer. The seven who decree fate, a select council within the Anunnaki, held a unique position, their number resonating with the seven planets visible to the naked eye and the sacred week that ordered Mesopotamian time. These deities, unnamed in many texts, but revered as ultimate arbiters, wielded the power to fix destinies, their decisions binding gods and mortals alike. In the Enlil and Ninlil myth, they appear as a solemn tribunal, their verdicts shaping cosmic events with a gravitas that stirred awe and dread. Imagine a Sumerian farmer gazing at the night sky, knowing seven divine judges held his harvest's fate, their celestial court a distant mirror of earthly justice. This numerical precision, 7 planets, 7 days, 7 fates, wove a sense of cosmic rhythm into daily life, a heartbeat of order amidst the chaos of floods and famines. Linguistic evolution of the Anunnaki's name traces the arc of Mesopotamian history, revealing a culture in flux. Early Sumerian texts from the Jemdet Nasr period, 3100-2900 BCE, show variant spellings. Anunna, Anunna, reflecting regional dialects as city-states like Uruk, Ur, and Eridu crafted their own theological identities. By the early dynastic period, 2900-2350 BCE, standardization began to emerge, driven by political unification under figures like Lugal-Zaggisi of Umma. Akkadian scribes later adopted Anunnaku, blending Sumerian roots with their own linguistic flair, a shift that mirrored the growing cultural synthesis of Sumer and Akkad. This linguistic journey wasn't mere semantics, it was a cultural pulse, each variation a snapshot of a people striving for unity while honoring local traditions. The emotional weight of these changes lies in their reflection of a society knitting itself together, its gods a constant amid shifting human allegiances. Cosmic geography, embodied in temple architecture, anchored the Anunnaki's theology in the physical world. Ziggurats, those towering stepped pyramids, were more than temples. They were cosmic mountains, their ascending levels symbolizing the journey from earth to heaven. The Anu Ziggurat at Uruk, dedicated to the sky god himself, rose in deliberate stages, its alignment with solstices and equinoxes a testament to Sumerian astronomical precision. Excavations reveal its whitewashed walls, gleaming under the sun, a beacon of divine presence visible across the plain. Each level housed specific rituals, priests ascending as if climbing the cosmos itself, their offerings bridging mortal and divine realms. This architecture wasn't static. It was alive with meaning, each brick a prayer, each platform a step toward the gods. For the Sumerians, standing in the ziggurat's shadow, the structure was a promise. The Anunnaki were near, their order tangible in mud brick and starlight. Ritual practices tied to these structures deepened this connection. At Uruk, priests performed daily offerings, bread, beer, incense, before Anu's cult statue, its horned crown signaling his supreme rank. Cylinder seals from the period depict these scenes, gods in tiered headdresses, their robes flowing like rivers, receiving homage from mortals. These images, pressed into clay, weren't mere art, they were declarations of faith, capturing the awe of a people who saw divinity in every crafted object. The ziggurat's courtyard buzzed during festivals, where communities gathered, their chants rising with the smoke of sacrifices. This wasn't just worship, it was communion, a shared pulse of devotion that bound king, priest, and farmer to the Anunnaki's cosmic plan. To enrich this narrative, consider the sensory world of these rituals, the scent of burning cedar, the rhythmic beat of drums, the crowd's murmurs swelling into hymns. A Sumerian mother, clutching her child's hand, might feel both fear and hope as she watched priests ascend the ziggurat, knowing their offerings could sway the gods' favor for the coming harvest. This emotional depth, hope tinged with vulnerability, infuses the Anunnaki's theology with humanity. The Igigi's watchful eyes in the stars, the Seven's solemn decrees, the Ziggurat's towering presence, all reassured a people that their world, though fragile, was held in divine hands. The linguistic shifts also carried emotional weight. As city-states vied for dominance, standardizing the Anunnaki's name was an act of cultural diplomacy, a way to unify disparate voices under a shared divine narrative. Texts from the Phara period, 2600-2500 BCE, show scribes grappling with these variations, their efforts a quiet heroism to preserve tradition while embracing change. This tension, local pride versus collective identity, mirrors modern struggles, making the Anunnaki's evolution a timeless story of adaptation. The Ziggurat's cosmic symbolism extended beyond architecture into the Sumerians' worldview. Its levels reflected the Anunnaki's hierarchy, with Anu at the apex, his authority filtering through lesser gods to the earth below. Archaeological finds, star charts etched on clay, temple plans aligned with celestial events, reveal a people obsessed with mapping the heavens, their ziggurats earthly mirrors of divine order. This wasn't abstract theology, it was a lifeline, a way to navigate a world where floods could erase a season's labor. The Anunnaki, through their temples and titles, offered a framework for survival, their cosmic geography a map for both body and soul. As the Anunnaki's roles clarified, their distinctions from the Igigi and the seven fate decreers shaped a theology of balance, rulers, watchers, judges, all working in concert. This structure, etched in clay and stone, promised stability, yet hinted at tensions to come. How would these gods, with their layered roles, navigate the growing complexity of human civilization? The stage is set for a divine drama where architecture, language, and ritual converge to tell a story of order, ambition, and the eternal dance between mortal and divine. The Anunnaki's presence in Mesopotamian life was not confined to lofty myths or towering ziggurats. It pulsed through the rhythm of festivals, the wealth of temples, and the laws that bound society. Their worship structured time itself, with religious calendars orchestrating a cycle of devotion that synchronized human labor with divine will. The Akitu festival, celebrated from the earliest Sumerian days through the twilight of Mesopotamian civilization, stood as the pinnacle of this sacred calendar. Held at the spring equinox, it was a grand renewal of divine kingship, where the reigning monarch, cloaked in ritual splendor, reenacted the Anunnaki's original appointment of earthly rulers. Cuneiform records describe processions through city streets, the air thick with incense and the chants of priests as the king ascended the ziggurat to offer sacrifices to Anu or Enlil. This wasn't mere pageantry, it was a cosmic reset, a moment when heaven and earth aligned, stirring awe and hope in the crowds who gathered, their voices rising like a tide to affirm their place in the divine order. The economic machinery of Anunnaki worship was staggering, as temple records reveal. The Draham archive from the Ur-Thru period, circa 2100-2000 BCE, documents thousands of animals, sheep, goats, cattle, sacrificed annually to the Anunnaki, their blood and smoke a currency of divine favor. Temples were not just spiritual hubs, but economic powerhouses, controlling vast estates, workshops, and trade networks. At Nippur, Enlil's sanctuary employed thousands, from scribes tallying grain to weavers crafting sacred textiles. These institutions fueled cities, their wealth a tangible link between mortal labor and divine approval. Imagine a Sumerian merchant delivering barley to the temple, knowing his offering might appease Enlil's storms or ensure Inanna's blessing on his trade routes. This exchange wasn't cold transaction, but a sacred pact, laden with the weight of survival and prosperity. Iconographic evidence breathes life into these practices. Cylinder seals and temple reliefs depict the Anunnaki in horned crowns, their tiered headgear signaling divine rank, more horns for greater gods, Anu's crown, a towering symbol of supremacy. Their robes, intricate with geometric patterns, mirror royal garments, blurring the line between divine and earthly authority. A seal from Uruk shows an Anunnaki figure, staff in hand, receiving offerings from a kneeling king, the scene alive with deference and power. These images weren't static. They were stories in stone, evoking the reverence of a people who saw their gods as both majestic and immediate. A priestess sealing a tablet with such an image might feel the Anunnaki's gaze, her act a prayer etched in clay, binding her to the divine hierarchy. The integration of Anunnaki theology with governance is starkly evident in early law codes. The Code of Ur-Nammu, dating to around 2100 BCE, opens with a declaration that the king received his authority from An and Enlil, framing earthly justice as a divine mandate. This wasn't abstract rhetoric. It was a legal cornerstone, positioning the Anunnaki as guarantors of social order. Crimes against the temple, neglecting offerings or defiling sacred spaces, carried harsh penalties, reflecting the gods' role as moral arbiters. Administrative texts from Lagash detail disputes settled by temple courts, priests invoking the Anunnaki to legitimize verdicts. For a Sumerian accused of theft, standing before Enlil's shrine, the divine presence was palpable, the judgment a balance of fear and fairness, tying personal morality to cosmic law. To deepen this narrative, picture the Akitu festival's crescendo, the king, stripped of regalia, humbling himself before the high priest, who recites the god's decrees. The crowd, breathless, watches as he reclaims his crown, symbolizing the Anunnaki's renewed trust. This ritual, rich with suspense, wasn't just religious, it was political theater, reinforcing the king's divine legitimacy while uniting the community in shared faith. The emotional stakes were high. A failed Akitu could signal divine displeasure, threatening drought or invasion. Archaeological finds, clay tablets listing festival expenses, from wine to gilded statues, reveal the scale of this devotion, a city pouring its wealth into a single moment of divine communion. Economic records paint a vivid scene. At Drehim, scribes meticulously logged sacrifices, noting 3,200 sheep for one festival alone, their bleating a chorus of devotion as they were led to slaughter. This wasn't waste, but investment, each animal a plea for fertility, rain, victory. The emotional resonance for a farmer offering his prized ram was profound, his sacrifice a bridge to the gods, his hope for a bountiful harvest resting on their favor. Temples, with their granaries and workshops, were the economic heart of cities, their prosperity proof of divine blessing, their failures a call to greater piety. Iconography carried this theology into daily life. A mother might wear an amulet stamped with an Anunnaki seal, believing it protected her child from illness. The god's image, a talisman of divine care. These artifacts, found in graves and homes, show a society saturated with faith, where the Anunnaki were as present as the rivers that sustain them. The Code of Ur-Nammu, inscribed on a stele, stood in temple courtyards, its laws a constant reminder that justice flowed from the gods. A scribe copying these laws might feel the weight of divine scrutiny, his work a sacred duty to uphold order. The Anunnaki's influence wove through time, wealth, art, and law, creating a society where every act, sowing fields, sealing contracts, offering lambs, was a dialogue with the divine. Yet this intricate system hinted at tensions. How would the gods balance their cosmic authority with the growing ambitions of human kings? The stage is set for the divine triad, Anu, Enlil, Enki, to take center stage, their roles shaping the next chapter of this cosmic drama. The Anunnaki's divine authority crystallized in the supreme triad of Anu, Enlil, and Enki, each commanding a distinct sphere of cosmic influence, yet united in their governance of heaven and earth. Anu, the Sky Father, reigned from the highest heavens, his authority as distant and unassailable as the stars. Cuneiform texts portray him as the ultimate arbiter, dwelling in a celestial realm beyond daily affairs but wielding final judgment in divine disputes. The Babylonian creation epic, Enuma Elish, casts him as the bearer of the Anu power, a cosmic force he could delegate in times of crisis. When Tiamat, the primordial chaos goddess, threatened the divine order, Anu's attempt to confront her faltered, and he passed his power to Marduk, revealing a deity whose strength lay in delegation rather than direct intervention. At Uruk, the Anu temple complex, with its towering ziggurat, embodied this celestial hierarchy. Priests ascended its levels in rituals symbolizing a climb toward Anu's domain, culminating in the sacred marriage chamber where annual ceremonies with Inanna renewed his cosmic sovereignty. Imagine the awe of a Sumerian onlooker watching torchlit processions ascend the ziggurat under a star-strewn sky, the air heavy with chants and the scent of myrrh, each step a bridge to the divine. Enlil, lord of the air and terrestrial authority, was the most engaged of the triad, his storms shaping both nature and politics. Babylonian texts hail him as Lord of the Hurricane and King of the Lands, his power manifest in the winds that could nurture crops or unleash devastation. At Nippur, his Akor temple was a nerve center of Mesopotamian faith, its archives detailing how priests interpreted storms, floods, or droughts as Enlil's divine communiques. The Code of Hammurabi, circa 1750 BCE, declares that Anu and Enlil appointed the king to uphold justice, cementing Enlil's role as legitimizer of earthly rule. Kings journeyed to Nippur, offering lavish sacrifices, gold, livestock, incense, to secure his blessing for campaigns or reforms. The Tumul Chronicle records rulers who lost favor by neglecting Enlil's temple, their defeats framed as divine retribution. For a Mesopotamian king, standing before Enlil's shrine, the stakes were visceral. His crown, his city's survival, hung on divine approval. The emotional weight of these moments, hope mingled with fear, resonated through a society dependent on the whims of weather and war. Enlil's influence extended to agriculture, the lifeblood of Mesopotamia. Sumerian hymns praise him as Lord of Abundance, controlling river floods and soil fertility. The Farmer's Almanac, a practical guide preserved in cuneiform, begins with prayers to Enlil, blending devotion with agricultural know-how. This wasn't abstract theology, it was survival, each furrow in the field a plea for his favor. Picture a farmer, sweat-soaked under the Mesopotamian sun, whispering Enlil's name as he sowed barley, his faith a shield against drought. Archaeological finds from Nippur, clay tablets listing crop yields, irrigation schedules, reveal a society where divine will and human labor were inseparable. Enlil's storms, both a threat and a promise. To deepen this narrative, consider the sensory world of these rituals. At Uruk, the sacred marriage rite saw priests and priestesses in gilded robes, their voices rising in hymns as they ascended the ziggurat, the crowd below holding its breath. The ritual wasn't just symbolic, it was a communal heartbeat, uniting the city in a shared hope for prosperity. For Enlil's devotees, a sudden storm during a festival might spark panic or reverence, a sign of his presence. The Code of Hammurabi's stele, towering in Babylon's public square, wasn't just law, but a divine covenant. Its cuneiform lines a reminder that Enlil's justice underpinned society. A scribe copying these laws might feel the god's gaze, his stylus trembling with the weight of divine mandate. The triad's interplay, Anu's lofty authority, Enlil's earthly might, set the stage for Enki, whose wisdom and waters would balance their power. Yet tension simmered within this divine council. Anu's delegation to Marduk in Enuma. Elish hinted at vulnerability, while Enlil's insistence on control clashed with human ambition. The Anunnaki's structured cosmos, mirrored in ziggurats and laws, promised order but also foreshadowed conflict. How would Enki's cunning and compassion navigate this divine hierarchy, especially as humanity's growth challenged the gods' plans? The cosmic drama intensifies, with the triad's roles weaving a narrative of power, justice, and the fragile bond between gods and mortals. Enki, the third pillar of the Anunnaki triad, emerges as the god of wisdom and waters, his domain the life-giving Abzu. The subterranean ocean, that fed Mesopotamia's rivers and canals. His influence was both practical and profound, shaping the intellectual and agricultural foundations of civilization. In the Atrahasis epic, Enki stands as humanity's protector, defying the divine assembly's decree to destroy mankind with a flood. He whispers salvation to Atrahasis through a reed wall, a cunning workaround to the god's oath of secrecy, ensuring humanity's survival. This act wasn't mere rebellion, it was a testament to Enki's empathy, a god who saw mortals not as mere laborers, but as partners in the cosmic order. The Enki and Nin-Hursag myth further paints him as the architect of irrigation, teaching humans to channel the Abzu's waters to transform arid plains into fertile fields. Imagine a Sumerian farmer, ankle-deep in a canal, murmuring thanks to Enki as water flowed, his crops a living prayer to the god's wisdom. Eridu's Abzu temple, Enki's earthly seat, was a hub of knowledge and craft. Archaeological evidence reveals scribal schools, workshops, and early laboratories where priests experimented with metallurgy and herbal remedies. Clay tablets from Eridu's library detail irrigation techniques, pharmaceutical recipes, and mathematical calculations, showing how Enki's divine patronage translated into tangible advancements. These weren't just technical manuals, they were sacred texts, each formula a gift from the god who knew all things. For a scribe studying under flickering oil lamps, copying Enki's hymns, the act was worship, his stylus tracing divine wisdom. The emotional resonance was palpable. Enki's waters meant life, his knowledge a shield against chaos, offering hope in a land where drought could spell ruin. The divine assembly, the Upshukina, was the Anunnaki's cosmic legislature, a forum where gods debated fates with a formality rivaling earthly courts. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the assembly deliberates over Gilgamesh and Enkidu's slaying of Humbaba and the Bull of Heaven, their arguments a tense drama of justice and retribution. 50 Anunnaki, led by the 7 fate decreers, weigh evidence, their verdicts shaping mortal and divine realms. The decision to condemn Enkidu to death, sparing Gilgamesh, reflects a compromise that balances divine honor with mortal ambition. This wasn't abstract theology, it was a mirror of human governance where consensus tempered power. Picture a Mesopotamian elder hearing of Enkidu's fate, feeling the weight of divine justice, a reminder that even heroes tread under the god's gaze. Other deities played critical roles in this assembly. Nin-Hursag, the mother goddess, oversaw childbirth and fertility, her authority vital to the continuation of life. In Enki and Nin-Hursag, she molds humans from clay, her hands shaping the cycle of birth and renewal. Her presence in the Upshukina ensured that creation's sanctity was upheld, her voice a counterpoint to Enlil's stern decrees. Inanna, the moon god, governed time, his lunar cycles structuring festivals and agriculture. His temple at the Ekishnugal, housed astronomical observations, priests tracking the moon to calibrate calendars. Utu, the sun god, administered justice, his daily journey across the sky making him witness to all human deeds. Legal texts invoke Utu as guarantor of oaths, his light a divine spotlight on truth. For a merchant swearing a contract under Utu's name, the god's presence was immediate, his justice both promise and threat. To enrich this narrative, envision the Upshukina's debates, gods in radiant robes, their voices echoing in a cosmic chamber, deciding the fate of kings and cities. A Sumerian priest, interpreting omens, might feel the assembly's weight, knowing his divinations channeled their will. The emotional stakes were high. Each decree could bring bounty or calamity. Enki's defiance in Atrahasis adds suspense, his whispered warning to Atrahasis, a daring act of compassion that risked divine wrath. The contrast with Enlil's authority creates a narrative tension, reflecting human struggles between duty and empathy. Archaeological finds amplify this drama. At Eridu, clay models of canals and water wheels, inscribed with Enki's name, show a god whose gifts were practical yet divine. Nanna's temple at yields star charts, their precision a testament to the moon god's temporal mastery. Utu's seals, depicting him with a radiant disk, evoke a society where justice was as constant as the sun. These artifacts weren't mere objects. They were conduits of faith, each one a story of divine care. The assembly's structure, with its specialized roles, Ninhursag's nurturing, Nanna's timing, Utu's vigilance, offered a balanced cosmos, yet hinted at challenges. As humanity grew, would Enki's wisdom clash with Enlil's control? The stage is set for the creation of mankind, a divine act that would test the Anunnaki's unity and reshape their cosmic order. The Anunnaki's divine council, with its intricate web of genealogical and marital ties, shaped a cosmic hierarchy that pulsed with both harmony and tension, mirroring the complexities of human kinship. These relationships, fathers, sons, consorts, weren't mere myths, but frameworks for understanding divine authority and cosmic balance. Marduk, Enki's son, inherited his father's wisdom, but forged his own path as a warrior god, his rise in Enuma Elish signaling a shift toward Babylonian supremacy. Enlil's sons, Nanna and Ninurta, formed a power block. Nanna's lunar cycles governed time, while Ninurta's martial prowess defended the divine order against chaos. Marriages further bound the pantheon. Nanna's union with Ningal birthed Utu and Inanna, creating a lunar solar dynasty that controlled justice and love. Inanna's tragic marriage to Dumuzi, ending in his underworld descent, wove themes of loss and renewal into the cosmic narrative, resonating with Sumerians who saw their own lives reflected in these divine dramas. Imagine a widow in Uruk offering to Inanna, her grief echoing the goddess's mourning, finding solace in shared sorrow. The divine assembly's decision-making, vividly portrayed in epic literature, was a structured dance of debate and decree. In the Atrahasis epic, the gods convene to address the Agigi's rebellion. Their labor strikes threatening cosmic stability. Enlil summons the Ubshukina, where arguments unfold with legal precision. Speakers present cases, witnesses testify, and verdicts emerge from consensus. The decision to create humans to relieve the Agigi's toil was a radical solution, born of necessity and Enki's ingenuity. The Epic of Gilgamesh further showcases this process, as the gods debate Gilgamesh and Enkidu's transgressions. The assembly's choice to punish Enkidu, sparing Gilgamesh, balances justice with divine politics, a compromise that spared a hero protected by powerful gods. For a Mesopotamian scribe hearing these tales, the assembly's debates were a mirror of earthly courts, offering reassurance that even divine justice followed rules, not whims. The Atrahasis epic provides the fullest account of humanity's creation, a theological cornerstone that positioned humans as divine laborers. The Agigi, weary after 40 years of toiling in canals and fields, rebelled, burning tools and surrounding Enlil's Nippur residence. The crisis was visceral. Gods, like mortals, faced unrest, their cosmic order teetering. Enki proposed creating humans to bear the labor, a plan requiring the sacrifice of Wela, a god with intelligence. His blood, mixed with clay by the birth goddess Nintu, formed humanity, the divine essence granting reason, the clay grounding them in mortality. 14 birth goddesses shaped 7 male and 7 female humans, their 10-month creation mirroring gestation, ensuring diversity and reproduction. This wasn't just mythology, it was a profound explanation of human purpose, resonating with Sumerians who saw their daily toil, plowing fields, building temples as a divine mandate. To deepen this narrative, picture the emotional weight of the Agigi's rebellion. Lesser gods, exhausted, their tools aflame, chanting defiance outside Enlil's temple. The scene, etched in cuneiform, evokes a labor strike, humanizing the divine while highlighting the stakes of cosmic order. Enki's solution was a masterstroke, but his secret addition of extra divine essence to humans, beyond the assembly's decree, was a quiet rebellion, planting seeds of future conflict. For a Sumerian laborer, hearing this tale, the story was both humbling and empowering. His toil served the gods, yet his intelligence was a divine gift, a spark of Enki's wisdom. Archaeological finds, like clay figurines from Eridu depicting human forms, suggest rituals reenacting this creation, priests molding clay to honor the god's craft, each act a reminder of humanity's sacred origins. The assembly's deliberations carried emotional heft. In Gilgamesh, the gods' debate over Enkidu's fate was fraught with tension, Anu's call for justice clashing with Ishtar's pleas for mercy. A citizen of Ur, hearing this recited during a festival, might feel the gods' moral complexity, their decisions as fraught as human ones. The Anunnaki's family ties, Marduk's ambition, Inanna's passion, added layers of relatability, their divine dramas echoing mortal joys and sorrows. These relationships also had practical implications. Nanna's lunar authority ensured accurate calendars, vital for planting. Ninurta's victories over chaos monsters like Asag bolstered faith in divine protection. The creation narrative set a dramatic stage. Humans, born to serve, carried divine intelligence, a gift that would soon challenge the gods' control. Enki's defiance hinted at a deeper theological tension. Could a god prioritize compassion over collective will? As humanity multiplied, this question loomed larger, foreshadowing a crisis that would test the Anunnaki's unity and reshape their relationship with their creation. The Cosmic Council, bound by blood and debate, stood poised for a reckoning, their divine order trembling on the edge of chaos. The creation of humanity in the Atrahasis epic is a vivid tableau, a divine act of ingenuity and sacrifice that binds the Anunnaki's will to mortal existence. The process, detailed with almost clinical precision, unfolds in the wake of the Igigi's rebellion, their refusal to toil further in the gods' cosmic labor. Enki, ever the innovator, proposes a radical solution: create a new being to shoulder the burden. The assembly, convened in the Ubshukina, agrees, but the cost is steep. Wela, a god with intelligence, must be slain. His blood, mingled with clay from the Abzu, becomes the raw material for humanity. Nintu, the birth goddess, presides over the act, her hands shaping the mixture as 14 birth goddesses craft 7 males and 7 females, their 10-month gestation mirroring human birth. This wasn't mere creation, it was a sacred alchemy, the divine essence in Wela's blood granting humans reason, the clay anchoring them to mortality. For a Sumerian hearing this tale, the story was both humbling and profound. Their very existence was a divine compromise, their intelligence a spark of godhood, their labor a cosmic duty. Comparisons with other creation narratives reveal a tapestry of theological nuance. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the goddess Aruru molds Enkidu from clay alone, a simpler act that emphasizes his primal nature, contrasting with the Atrahasis' complex recipe of blood and clay. The Enuma Elish, a later Babylonian epic, shifts the focus to Marduk, who creates humans from the blood of Chingu, Tiamat's slain consort, to serve the gods' post-cosmic victory needs. These variations reflect regional and temporal shifts. Sumerian emphasis on collective divine effort versus Babylonian focus on Marduk's supremacy. Yet all share the concept of humans as laborers, their purpose tied to relieving divine toil. The idea of the divine image emerges subtly. Humans, infused with godly essence, are not mere slaves, but reflections of divine intelligence, capable of thought and agency. This duality, servitude and godlike potential, infused Mesopotamian life with purpose, yet sowed seeds of tension, as human ambition would later challenge divine control. Archaeological evidence enriches this narrative. Clay figurines from Eridu and Ur, often found in temple deposits, depict stylized humans, their forms echoing the creation myth's imagery of molding clay. These weren't mere art, they were ritual objects used in ceremonies reenacting humanity's birth, priests chanting hymns as they pressed clay, invoking Nintu's craft. The emotional weight was immense. A Sumerian mother, offering such a figurine, might see her child's life as a continuation of this divine act, her prayers a plea for Nintu's protection. Tablets from Nippur's scribal schools preserve creation hymns, their cuneiform lines blending poetry with theology, each stroke a testament to humanity's sacred origins. For a scribe copying these texts, the act was worship, his stylus bridging mortal and divine. The Atrahasis account emphasizes process over mythos, detailing the assembly's debate, the slaughter of Wela, and the precise roles of the birth goddesses. This focus on procedure mirrors Mesopotamian legal texts, where justice required consensus and ritual. In contrast, Gilgamesh's creation of Enkidu is swift, almost impulsive, reflecting his role as a counterpoint to Gilgamesh's hubris. Enuma Elish elevates the act to cosmic triumph, Marduk's creation of humans, a capstone to his victory over chaos. These differences weren't contradictions, but reflections of cultural priorities. Sumerian practicality versus Babylonian grandeur. The divine image, though, remains constant. Humans, whether shaped by Nintu or Marduk, carry a spark of divinity, their minds a gift that sets them apart yet binds them to divine service. To deepen this narrative, imagine the Ub-Shukina's tension as Wela's fate is sealed. Enki's calm proposal, Enlil's stern approval, Nintu's solemn nod. The scene, vivid in cuneiform, evokes a divine courtroom, the gods' voices heavy with the weight of creation. For a Mesopotamian farmer, hearing this, the story was a mirror of his own life, labor born of divine will, yet infused with purpose. The creation myths also carried emotional stakes. Humans, though crafted to serve, could think like gods, a gift that sparked both pride and fear. Archaeological finds, votive figurines, temple altars reveal a society that ritualized this origin, each offering a plea to honor the god's sacrifice. The variations in these narratives highlight a theological flexibility, allowing each city-state to claim divine favor while sharing a core belief in humanity's divine roots. Yet, this gift of intelligence set a cosmic drama in motion. As humans multiplied, their divine spark, Enki's subtle addition, would strain the gods' control, leading to divine unrest and a fateful decision that would test the Anunnaki's unity. The stage is set for rituals honoring creation and the growing tensions that would reshape the divine human covenant. The creation of humanity, as depicted in Mesopotamian myths, wasn't a singular event, but a living narrative sustained through rituals that wove the divine act into the fabric of daily life. These ceremonies, meticulously recorded on clay tablets, honored the Anunnaki's role in shaping mankind while reinforcing the sacred bond between gods and mortals. In Eridu, priests performed rites at Enki's Abzu temple, reenacting humanity's creation by molding clay figurines, their chants invoking Nintu's labor in Atrahasis. These rituals weren't mere pageantry, they carried profound emotional weight. A Sumerian mother, placing a clay figure on an altar, might see her child's life as a continuation of Nintu's work, her offering a plea for health and fertility. Archaeological finds from Ur and Nippur, votive statues with wide eyes, hands clasped in prayer, evoke a society that saw itself as divinely crafted, each figurine a tangible link to the god's sacrifice of Wela's blood and clay. The economic and medical implications of these beliefs were vast. Temples, as economic hubs, funneled resources into creation rituals, with records from the Ur-3 period, circa 2100-2000 BCE, detailing expenditures of barley, oil, and livestock for festivals honoring humanity's origins. These events weren't just spiritual, they were economic engines, employing potters, scribes, and priests, their labor sustaining the divine human covenant. Medical texts, often inscribed with Enki's name, tied healing to creation, viewing illness as a disruption of the divine order established when humans were molded. Recipes for salves and incantations invoke Enki's wisdom, blending practical remedies with prayers to restore the body's divine balance. For a sick Mesopotamian seeking a priest's care, the ritual was a lifeline, their faith in Enki's craft a shield against mortality's uncertainty. Preservation of creation narratives relied on scribal schools, where apprentices copied myths like Atrahasis and Enuma Elish onto clay tablets, ensuring their transmission across generations. At Nippur's scribal quarter, Archaeologists uncovered libraries of such texts, their lines etched with precision, each hymn a testament to the Anunnaki's enduring power. This wasn't mere record-keeping, it was a sacred duty, scribes acting as stewards of divine knowledge. Imagine a young scribe, his fingers stained with clay, copying Atrahasis under a master's watchful eye, feeling the weight of preserving humanity's origin story. These texts, recited during festivals, stirred communal awe, their words a reminder that humans, though laborers, carried a divine spark. Yet, this divine gift of intelligence led to unforeseen consequences. The Atrahasis epic recounts how humanity's rapid population growth, fueled by the divine essence in their blood, disrupted the gods' tranquility. The land was bellowing like a bull, the text laments, describing the noise and chaos of multiplying humans. Enlil, disturbed by the clamor, convened the Upshukina to address the crisis. The gods' unease wasn't abstract. It mirrored the Mesopotamians' own struggles with urban overcrowding and resource strain. By 2500 BCE, cities like Uruk and Lagash were swelling. Their canals and fields stretched to sustain growing populations. For a city dweller hearing this myth, the gods' frustration was relatable, their own crowded markets echoing the epic's tension. Enlil's initial response was drastic. Plagues and famines to curb humanity's numbers, tablets describe droughts and barren wombs, divine punishments that struck at the heart of Mesopotamian survival. These weren't just stories, they were warnings, etched into the collective psyche. A farmer, watching his crops wither, might see Enlil's hand, his prayers to Enki a desperate bid for mercy. The emotional stakes were visceral. Humanity's divine origins came with a price, their growth a challenge to the gods' control. Archaeological evidence supports this narrative. Skeletal remains from early cities show signs of malnutrition during periods of environmental stress, reflecting the myth's themes of divine retribution. The preservation of these stories also had political dimensions. Kings sponsored festivals and temple restorations to align themselves with the Anunnaki's creation mandate, their patronage ensuring myths were recited and rituals performed. A ruler like Ur-Nammu, whose law code invoked Anu and Enlil, used creation narratives to legitimize his reign, casting himself as a steward of divine order. The emotional pull of these rituals, crowds chanting under ziggurats, priests offering clay figures, united communities, their shared faith a bulwark against the chaos of overpopulation and divine displeasure. As humanity's numbers grew, the Anunnaki's patience waned, setting the stage for a cataclysmic decision. Enlil's call for a flood to wipe out mankind, opposed by Enki's compassion, would test the divine assembly's unity and reshape the divine-human relationship. The rituals, economic systems, and preserved myths that celebrated creation now stood in tension with a looming divine judgment, the cosmic drama poised on the brink of catastrophe. The Atrahasis epic crescendos with humanity's unchecked growth, straining the Anunnaki's divine order, pushing Enlil to extreme measures. As the noise of burgeoning cities disrupted his rest, Enlil convened the Upshukina, his frustration palpable in the cuneiform lines. The clamor of mankind has become too intense for me. His initial attempts at population control, plagues, droughts, famines, were divine decrees aimed at thinning humanity's numbers. Tablets describe barren fields and empty wombs, each calamity a warning etched in clay and mirrored in archaeological records of skeletal stress from early urban centers like Ur and Lagash. For a Mesopotamian farmer, watching his crops wither under a relentless sun, these punishments were not just myths, but lived realities, each drought a sign of Enlil's wrath. The emotional weight was crushing. Humanity, crafted to serve, now faced divine retribution for its very success. Enki, the compassionate counterpoint, subtly undermined these decrees. In Atrahasis, he intervenes quietly, teaching humans rituals to appease minor deities controlling disease and drought, loosening Enlil's grip. His actions weren't outright rebellion, but clever subterfuge, a god weaving loopholes into divine mandates. Imagine a Sumerian priest, whispering Enki's incantations over a sick child, hope flickering against the specter of divine punishment. Enki's defiance added suspense to the cosmic drama, his wisdom a beacon for a people caught between divine will and survival. Frustrated by these failures, Enlil proposed a final solution, a deluge to erase humanity. The assembly, bound by oath, agreed, their decision a chilling consensus recorded in the epic's stark lines. Let the flood come forth. Enki, however, refused to let his creation perish. Sworn to secrecy, he found a loophole, speaking through a reed wall to Atrahasis, the exceedingly wise man of Shurupak. Tear down your house, build a boat, Enki instructed, dictating precise measurements for an ark to withstand the flood. Atrahasis obeyed, crafting a vessel of reeds and pitch, loading it with his family, animals, and provisions. Archaeological parallels, reed boat fragments from Persian Gulf sites, suggest such vessels were feasible, their design rooted in Mesopotamian river trade. For a Sumerian hearing this, the ark was a symbol of hope, a fragile bulwark against divine fury. The flood's unleashing was cataclysmic, its description in Atrahasis vivid and harrowing. The storm raged, the flood weapon was launched, water surged, submerging cities, the gods themselves weeping at the destruction. Nintu mourned her children, her grief a raw echo of human loss. Enki's silence during the deluge, his plan resting on Atrahasis' survival, heightened the tension. For 7 days and nights, the ark endured, a lone speck in a watery abyss. Imagine Atrahasis, huddled with his family, the roar of waves mingling with prayers to Enki, their survival a testament to divine compassion amidst wrath. When the waters receded, Atrahasis offered sacrifices, their smoke rising to the gods. The Anunnaki, chastened by the devastation, gathered around the offering, their hunger a surprising vulnerability. Enlil, enraged at Enki's defiance, was swayed by the assembly's plea for balance. The gods forged a new covenant, imposing limits on humanity, shorter lifespans, infertility for some, to prevent future overpopulation. This resolution wasn't just theological. It mirrored Mesopotamian anxieties about resource scarcity, evident in clay tablets recording ration cuts during urban growth. For a citizen of Ur, this covenant offered reassurance. The gods, though powerful, could be swayed, their justice tempered by mercy. To deepen this narrative, picture the emotional stakes. A Mesopotamian elder recounting the flood to his grandchildren, his voice trembling as he described the ark's survival, a story of divine conflict and human resilience. Archaeological evidence. Flood silt layers at Shurupak and Kish, dated to circa 2900 BCE, lends credence to the myth, suggesting a historical kernel of catastrophic flooding. These layers, thick with sediment, evoke a society rebuilding from ruin, their faith in Enki's wisdom a lifeline. The rituals that followed, with priests burning incense to honor Atrahasis' sacrifice, were acts of gratitude, each offering a plea to prevent another deluge. The flood marked a turning point, reshaping the divine-human relationship. Enki's intervention and the new covenant highlighted the Anunnaki's adaptability, their assembly a forum where compassion could challenge control. Yet the gods' near destruction of their creation hinted at lingering tensions. As cities rose anew, their patron deities would anchor urban governance, setting the stage for a new era of divine patronage and human ambition, with Enlil at Nippur and Enki at Eridu guiding humanity's next chapter. The flood's aftermath in the Atrahasis epic marked a seismic shift in the divine-human covenant, with the Anunnaki recalibrating their relationship with a diminished but resilient humanity. The deluge, though catastrophic, left survivors under Atrahasis' leadership, their offerings of incense and livestock drawing the gods to a new compact. The Upshukina convened once more, Enlil's fury at Enki's defiance tempered by the assembly's recognition of humanity's value. The gods imposed limits, shorter lifespans, infertility for some, and periodic calamities, to curb population growth, ensuring the clamor of mankind would never again disturb divine repose. This covenant wasn't just theological, it mirrored Mesopotamian realities, with archaeological records from post-flood cities like Ur showing rationed resources and urban planning to manage growth. For a Sumerian rebuilding his home amid flood-silt ruins, the myth offered solace. The gods, though harsh, had spared humanity, their new rules a framework for survival. Post-flood urban governance crystallized around patron deities, each city tied to an Anunnaki god who shaped its identity and authority. Nippur, Enlil's stronghold, remained Mesopotamia's spiritual heart, its Akkor temple a beacon of divine legitimacy. Kings journeyed there, offering gold and grain to secure Enlil's blessing, their inscriptions boasting of restoring the house of Enlil for the Anunnaki. Excavations reveal Nippur's temple, bustling with activity, priests interpreting omens, scribes recording royal decrees, its influence binding disparate city-states. Enlil's role as Lord of Destinies made Nippur a neutral arbiter, its priests mediating disputes between cities. For a ruler kneeling before Enlil's shrine, the moment was electric with hope and fear, his crown's legitimacy hanging on divine approval. Eridu, Enki's domain, anchored the south, its Abzu temple a hub of wisdom and innovation. Post-flood texts describe Enki teaching survivors irrigation techniques and city planning, his gifts rebuilding civilization. Archaeological evidence, some canal systems radiating from Eridu, dated to circa 2500 BCE, shows a city reborn from the deluge, its waterways a testament to Enki's mastery. Priests at Eridu performed rituals to honor the new covenant, pouring libations into the Abzu to thank Enki for humanity's survival. For a fisherman casting nets in Eridu's marshes, these rites were a lifeline, his livelihood tied to the god who tamed the waters. The emotional resonance was profound. Enki's compassion had saved mankind, his temple a symbol of divine mercy amid a precarious world. Other cities aligned with their patron gods, creating a divine urban network. Uruk, under Inanna's patronage, thrived as a cultural and economic powerhouse, its Inanna precinct glittering with trade goods and sacred art. Ur, tied to Nana, the moon god, synchronized its festivals with lunar cycles, ensuring agricultural and ritual precision. Archaeological finds, star charts from Ur's Ekishnugal temple, seals depicting Nana's crescent, reveal a society where divine patronage shaped daily life. The covenant's limits, like infertility, were ritualized in temples, with priestesses offering prayers to Nintu to lift barrenness. For a woman in Ur, childless and praying at Nana's shrine, these rituals were a desperate plea, her faith a bridge to divine intervention. The flood's impact lingered in Mesopotamian memory, its narrative preserved in clay tablets and recited at festivals. The Sumerian flood story, a parallel to Atrahasis, describes Ziusudra, another survivor, receiving divine instructions to rebuild. These tales weren't just myths, they were cultural anchors, uniting communities around shared survival. Excavations at Shurupak, Atrahasis' city, uncover flood layers from circa 2900 BCE, suggesting a historical basis for the myth, their sediment a silent witness to catastrophe. For a Mesopotamian hearing these stories, the flood was a reminder of divine power and mercy, each retelling a call to honor the gods through labor and ritual. To deepen this narrative, imagine a post-flood festival in Nippur, priests chanting under Enlil's ziggurat, their voices mingling with the scent of burning cedar, crowds offering barley to affirm the covenant. The emotional stakes were high. A failed offering could invite divine wrath. A successful one promised prosperity. Enki's Eridu, with its reed-lined canals, buzzed with activity, scribes recording Enki's hymns as fishermen blessed their boats. These cities, rebuilt on divine patronage, were more than settlements. They were sacred experiments, each temple a node in a cosmic network. The covenant's limits, shorter lives, controlled growth, reflected a pragmatic theology addressing urban overcrowding, evident in cramped housing at Ur and Lagash. Yet, this new order wasn't without tension. Enki's defiance had preserved humanity, but Enlil's authority demanded obedience. As cities grew, their patron gods, Inanna, Nana, and others, vied for prominence, their temples competing for resources and influence. The stage was set for a new divine drama where Inanna's ambition at Uruk and Nanna's lunar reign at Ur would redefine the Anunnaki's role in a burgeoning civilization, their patronage shaping the next chapter of Mesopotamian history. The post-flood world saw Mesopotamian cities rise as divine strongholds, each anchored by an Anunnaki patron whose influence shaped urban identity and governance. Uruk, under Inanna's fiery patronage, pulsed with ambition, its Eanna precinct a dazzling hub of trade, art, and ritual. Inanna, goddess of love and war, was no passive deity. Her sacred marriage rites, performed annually, united the king with her divine essence, often through a priestess embodying the goddess. Cuneiform texts describe these ceremonies. The king, adorned in gold, ascending the ziggurat to a sacred chamber where hymns and offerings sealed the union. This wasn't mere symbolism, it was a political and spiritual act, legitimizing the ruler's authority while ensuring fertility and prosperity. For Uruk's citizens, watching the torchlit procession, the rite stirred awe and hope, their city's vitality tied to Inanna's favor. Archaeological finds, seals depicting Inanna with her lion and star, evoke a goddess both fierce and alluring, her presence etched into every facet of Uruk's bustling life. Ur, under Nanna's lunar gaze, wove time and faith into its fabric. The Ikishnugal Temple, Nanna's sanctuary, was a marvel of precision, its priests tracking lunar cycles to calibrate planting and festivals. Tablets from Ur detail offerings of silver and lapis lazuli, the moon god's crescent adorning altars and seals. Nanna's consort, Ningal, played a key role in rituals, her priesthood ensuring continuity of lunar worship. For a farmer in Ur, timing his sowing to Nanna's phases, the god's light was a divine clock, his temple a promise of order in a world of floods and droughts. The emotional resonance was profound. Each crescent moon was a sign of Nanna's watchfulness, guiding the city through cycles of renewal. Priesthood hierarchies structured this divine human dialogue. High priests and priestesses, often royal appointees, wielded immense power, their roles blending spiritual and political authority. In Uruk, Inannas and priestesses like Enheduanna, daughter of Sargon, circa 2300 BCE, composed hymns that shaped theology, her exaltation of Inanna a masterpiece of devotion and propaganda. Women's roles were pivotal. Priestesses managed temple estates, oversaw rituals, and served as oracles, their voices channeling divine will. Excavations at Ur uncover their quarters, lavish with jewelry and clay tablets, revealing women who were economic and spiritual powerhouses. For a priestess in Inanna's service, chanting hymns under the ziggurat's shadow, her role was a sacred trust, her words binding city to cosmos. Temple architecture reflected this divine order. Uruk's Eanna and Ur's Ekishnugal were cosmic maps, their stepped terraces mirroring the heavens' layers. Ziggurats, with their precise alignments to cardinal points, were more than buildings. They were axes mundi, connecting Earth to Anu's sky. Archaeological evidence, foundation deposits with inscribed cones, shows rulers like Ur-Nammu dedicating these structures to the Anunnaki who decree fate. Rituals animated these spaces, daily offerings of bread and beer, seasonal festivals like the Akitu, where kings renewed their divine mandate. Imagine a festival in Ur, crowds thronging the temple courtyard, drums pounding, priests pouring libations, as Nanna's crescent rose, the air electric with devotion. These moments weren't just religious, they were communal, uniting farmers, merchants, and rulers in shared faith. Integration with governance was seamless. Kings, as divine stewards, funded temples and festivals, their inscriptions boasting of pleasing Inanna or Nanna. The Code of Ur-Nammu invokes Anu and Enlil, but local deities like Nanna shaped city laws, ensuring taxes and labor-supported temple economies. Administrative tablets from Ur detail grain allocations for Nanna's festivals, scribes tallying with meticulous care. For a merchant delivering goods to the Ekishnugal, the act was both economic and sacred, his wealth tied to divine favor. This symbiosis wasn't without tension. Priests, wielding divine authority, could challenge kings, their oracles swaying policy. A ruler neglecting Inanna's rights risked omens of divine displeasure, a political peril as real as rebellion. To deepen this narrative, picture Uruk's Akitu festival. Inanna's priestess, resplendent in lapis, leading the king to the sacred chamber, the crowd's chants rising like a tide. The emotional stakes were high. Failure could mean drought, success promised bounty. In Nana's priests read the stars, their predictions guiding planting and politics, their temple a beacon of stability. Women's roles added depth. A priestess like Enheduanna wasn't just a poet, but a political force, her hymns shaping Uruk's identity. Archaeological finds, seals, votive statues bring these scenes to life, each artifact a story of faith and power. Yet, as cities grew, divine rivalries emerged. Inanna's ambition in Uruk and Nana's quiet authority in set the stage for Babylon's rise, where Marduk would challenge the old order. The Anunnaki's patronage, woven into temples and laws, held cities together, but the seeds of change were sown, heralding a new divine hierarchy and a transformed Mesopotamian world. Babylon's ascendancy in the early 2nd millennium BCE reshaped the Anunnaki's divine hierarchy, elevating Marduk from a minor city god to the supreme deity in the Enuma Elish, Babylon's creation epic. This text, likely composed under Hammurabi's patronage, circa 1750 BCE, recasts the cosmic narrative. Marduk, Enki's son, defeats Tiamat, the primordial chaos goddess, and creates the world from her corpse, claiming Anu's celestial authority. His victory wasn't just mythological, it was political, asserting Babylon's dominance over older Sumerian centers like Nippur and Eridu. Cuneiform tablets proclaim Marduk as king of the gods, his Esagila temple in Babylon, a new cosmic axis, its ziggurat, Etemenanki, towering over the Euphrates. Excavations reveal its grandeur, glazed bricks, gold inlays, symbolizing Marduk's supremacy. For Babylonians, watching priests ascend Etemenanki during festivals, the sight was electrifying, a testament to their city's divine mandate, stirring pride and awe. The Akitu festival in Babylon became the ultimate expression of Marduk's reign. Held at the spring equinox, it reenacted his victory over Tiamat, with the king humiliated before Marduk's statue, then reinvested with divine authority. Tablets describe processions through Babylon's Ishtar Gate, crowds chanting as priests carried Marduk's effigy, its eyes of lapis gleaming. This wasn't mere ritual, it was a political spectacle, unifying the city under Marduk's banner. For a Babylonian merchant, joining the throng, the festival was a visceral bond to the divine, his prosperity tied to Marduk's favor. Archaeological finds, clay reliefs of Marduk's dragon, Mushushu, evoke a deity both protector and conqueror, his image a constant in Babylonian life. Temple architecture reinforced this shift. The Isagila, with its vast courtyards and star-aligned altars, was a microcosm of Marduk's cosmos, its priests wielding economic and political clout. Tablets from Babylon's archives detail temple revenues, grain, silver, slaves, fueling rituals, and city governance. The ziggurat's 7 levels, each tied to a planet, mirrored the Anunnaki's celestial hierarchy, with Marduk at the apex. For a priest performing offerings, the climb was a spiritual ascent, each step a prayer for divine order. The emotional stakes were high. A failed Akitu could signal chaos, while success promised stability, resonating with a society navigating empire building and trade. Assyria, rising in the north, adapted this theology, substituting Ashur for Marduk. In Assur and Nineveh, Ashur's temples mirrored Babylon's grandeur, their ziggurats echoing Etemenanki. Assyrian kings like Tukulti-Ninurta Fasir, circa 1243-1207 BCE, claimed Ashur's mandate in inscriptions, their conquests framed as divine missions. The Assyrian Enuma Elish, a variant of the Babylonian epic, recasts Asher as the Chaos Slayer, absorbing Marduk's attributes. Seals from Nineveh depict Asher with solar and storm motifs, blending Utu's and Enlil's roles. For an Assyrian soldier, offering to Asher before battle, the god was a shield, his temple a rallying point for imperial ambition. This adaptation wasn't mere imitation, it was a theological coup, aligning Assyrian power with the Anunnaki's cosmic order. Yet, Babylon's Marduk-centric theology didn't erase older traditions. Enlil's Nippur and Enki's Eridu retained spiritual weight, their priests preserving Sumerian hymns. The Code of Hammurabi invokes Anu, and Enlil alongside Marduk, a nod to continuity amid change. For a Babylonian scribe, copying these texts, the task was a balancing act, honoring old gods while exalting the new. The emotional tension was palpable. Marduk's rise unified Mesopotamia but challenged local loyalties, a dynamic reflected in temple rivalries over offerings and influence. To deepen this narrative, imagine Babylon's Akitu, the king, stripped of regalia, kneeling before Marduk's statue, the crowd breathless as priests recite Enuma Elish. The air, thick with incense and drumbeats, pulsed with divine presence. In Assyria, Asher's festivals mirrored this, soldiers chanting under starlit ziggurats, their loyalty fused with faith. Archaeological evidence, Babylon's glazed reliefs, Nineveh's inscribed stelae, brings these scenes to life, each artifact a testament to divine and imperial ambition. The Anunnaki, reshaped by Marduk and Asher, remained a cosmic anchor, their temples bridging heaven and earth. This theological shift set the stage for further transformations. As empires expanded, the Anunnaki's roles would evolve under new rulers, their myths adapted to Hellenistic and later traditions. The cosmic drama, now centered on Babylon and Assyria, hinted at future syncretism, where gods would merge with foreign deities, their legacy enduring through conquest and change. The Neo-Babylonian revival, 626-539 BCE, breathed new life into the Anunnaki's legacy, reinvigorating their worship under kings like Nebuchadnezzar II, who sought to restore Babylon's divine glory. The Enuma Elish remained central, with Marduk's Esagila temple and Etemenanki ziggurat meticulously rebuilt, their glazed bricks shimmering in blues and golds, as archaeological excavations confirm. Cuneiform inscriptions boast of Nebuchadnezzar's offerings, gold, cedar, thousands of sheep, to Marduk and the Anunnaki, framing his reign as a divine mandate. The Akitu festival grew even grander, with processions along the processional way, flanked by lions and dragons, celebrating Marduk's cosmic victory. For a Babylonian citizen, joining the throng under torchlight, the spectacle was overwhelming, a fusion of civic pride and divine awe, each chant a reaffirmation of Babylon's supremacy. The emotional stakes were immense. The festival ensured Marduk's favor, promising prosperity amid the empire's expansion. Temple records reveal the economic scale of this devotion. The Esagila controlled vast estates, its priests managing grain, textiles, and trade routes, their wealth rivaling the crown's. Clay tablets detail daily offerings to Marduk and lesser Anunnaki like Nabu, his scribe son, whose Izida temple in Borsippa housed scribal schools, preserving myths and astronomical lore. For a scribe inscribing Nabu's hymns, the task was sacred, his stylus channeling divine wisdom. The Anunnaki's cosmic order, reflected in ziggurat architecture and star-aligned rituals, offered stability in a turbulent era, each offering a plea for divine protection against Persian threats looming on the horizon. The Hellenistic period, following Alexander the Great's conquest in 331 BCE, transformed the Anunnaki's theology through syncretism. Seleucid rulers, blending Greek and Mesopotamian traditions, identified Marduk with Zeus, Enki with Poseidon, and Inanna with Aphrodite, as seen in bilingual inscriptions from Babylon. The Esagila remained a religious hub, but Greek-style temples and theaters rose nearby, their columns clashing with ziggurats' stepped forms. Seleucid coins depict Marduk's dragon alongside Greek motifs, a visual fusion of cultures. For a Babylonian priest, adapting rituals to include Greek hymns, The shift was both pragmatic and disorienting. His faith stretched to bridge old gods with new rulers. Yet the Anunnaki's core endured, their myths recited in Aramaic and Greek, preserving their cosmic roles. This syncretism extended into later traditions. In Mandean texts, surviving into late antiquity, Anunnaki-like figures appear as celestial beings, their roles diluted but recognizable in rituals tied to water and creation, echoing Enki's Abzu. Syriac, Christian, and early Islamic writings, like those of the Haranian Sabians, reference star lords, resembling the Anunnaki, their worship blending with monotheistic currents. Archaeological finds, Mandean amulets, Syriac manuscripts show these traditions persisting in Mesopotamia's margins, their rituals a faint echo of ziggurat ceremonies. For a Mandean Baptist, immersing followers in river waters, Enki's legacy lived on, a thread of divine wisdom in a changing world. To deepen this narrative, imagine Babylon's Akitu under Nebuchadnezzar, the processional way alive with chants, priests bearing Marduk's statue through gates adorned with Mushushu dragons, the crowd's fervor a pulse of devotion. The Hellenistic era brought new tensions. A Babylonian scribe, writing in Greek, might feel torn between honoring Marduk and pleasing Seleucid patrons. Excavations at Babylon, glazed reliefs, Greek pottery alongside cuneiform tablets reveal a city straddling two worlds, its Anunnaki adapting yet enduring. The emotional weight was profound. For locals, the gods remained a bulwark against cultural erosion, their rituals a defiant claim to identity. The Anunnaki's legacy, though transformed, persisted through these syncretic shifts. Mandean and Syriac communities, preserving fragments of Mesopotamian theology, carried their stories into new eras, their rituals a quiet resistance to oblivion. Yet, as empires rose and fell, the Anunnaki's prominence faded, their temples buried under sand. The stage was set for their rediscovery, as modern scholars would unearth their myths, reviving the gods' voices in a world far removed from ziggurats and starlit processions. The Anunnaki's ancient voices, silenced for millennia, began to echo anew in the 19th century through the painstaking work of scholars who unraveled cuneiform secrets and unearthed Mesopotamia's buried cities. Georg Friedrich Grotefen's 1802 breakthrough deciphered Old Persian inscriptions at Persepolis, laying the groundwork for Akkadian and Sumerian. Henry Rawlinson's daring climbs at Behistun in the 1840s provided trilingual texts, enabling systematic decoding. Austin Henry Layard's excavations at Nineveh, 1845-1851, uncovered Ashurbanipal's library, over 30,000 tablets brimming with Anunnaki myths. George Smith's 1872 discovery of the flood narrative in the Epic of Gilgamesh captivated the world, linking Mesopotamian lore to biblical tales. For Victorian scholars, poring over these clay fragments by lamplight, each wedge a revelation, the emotional thrill was palpable, humanity's oldest stories emerging from dust. Subsequent digs deepened this rediscovery. Robert Koldewey's Babylon excavations, 1899-1917, revealed the Ishtar Gate and Etemenanke's foundations, their azure glazes evoking Marduk's splendor. Leonard Woolley's digs, 1922-1934, unearthed royal tombs and flood layers, confirming the deluge's historical echoes. The Nippur expedition, 1888 onward, yielded Sumerian texts, Samuel Noah Kramer's translations illuminating Anunnaki theology. Thorkild Jacobson's analyses traced its evolution, linking myths to social changes. These efforts weren't just academic. They were a quest for origins, each spade strike unearthing pieces of human heritage. Contemporary scholarship views the Anunnaki as sophisticated theological constructs, central to Mesopotamia's urban order. Experts like Jeremy Black and Andrew George emphasize their role in cosmic governance, myths like Atrahasis reflecting demographic anxieties. Archaeological correlations, ziggurats, seals, show a pantheon adapting to empire building. Yet, popular culture diverges wildly, with Zecharia Sitchin's 1976 The 12th Planet reimagining them as extraterrestrials from Nibiru, engineering humans for gold mining. Erich von Däniken's Chariots of the Gods fueled this, interpreting myths as alien tech. The Ancient Aliens series, 2009 onward, amplifies these claims, blending artifacts with speculation, captivating audiences skeptical of academia. Assyriologists like Michael Heiser debunked these, highlighting mistranslations and ignoring contexts. The Anunnaki, they argue, embody Mesopotamian worldview, not literal visitors. Literature echoes this divide. Neil Gaiman's American Gods weaves them into modern fantasy, while Reconstructionist movements revive their worship, blending cuneiform studies with contemporary spirituality. For enthusiasts, reciting Sumerian hymns under starlight evokes ancient awe, a bridge to lost divinity. The Anunnaki's legacy endures in digital archives and games like Assassin's Creed, their myths inspiring reflections on creation and authority. Whether scholarly pursuit or speculative thrill, they remain humanity's first cosmic architects, their stories a mirror to our enduring quest for meaning.